There are 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. Now, I've forgotten a few, but one thing is certain. The fact that you, who are reading this now, will survive. Written by 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World. A web novel platform filled the screen of my old smartphone. I scrolled down and then up again. How many times have I been doing this? Really? This is the end? I looked again, and the complete was unmistakable. The story was over. Story name: 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World. Author: TLS123. Total chapters: 3,149. 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World was a feature-length fantasy novel with 3,149 chapters. Its shortened name was Ways of Survival. I had been steadily reading this novel since the 3rd year of middle school. During the time when I was bullied by Iljins, when I ruined my entrance examinations and had to enter a local university, when the damned random draw went wrong and I was placed in a military unit at the forefront, where I repeatedly switched jobs and am now working as a contractor for an affiliate of a large company. Damn, let's stop talking about this. Anyway, author's words. Thank you so much for reading Ways of Survival up to here. I'll come back to you with an epilogue. An epilogue still remains. And the next chapter really is the last one. From the end of childhood to adulthood, it had been done over a huge period of 10 years. There was a mixture of despondency that a world was coming to an end, along with a sense of satisfaction. I opened the comment box of the last message and rewrote the sentence several times. Kim Dokja. Writer, thank you for everything in the meantime. I'm looking forward to the epilogue. They were sincere sentences. Ways of Survival was my life's novel. It wasn't the most popular, but it was the best novel for me. There were many words I wanted to say, but I couldn't write them down. I was afraid that my careless words would hurt the writer. An average of 1.9 hits per chapter. An average of 1.08 comments. This was the average popularity index of Ways of Survival. The number of views for the first chapter was 12,000, but it fell to 120 for the 10th chapter, and then 12th for the 50th chapter. And by the time it was the 100th chapter, there was only 1. Hits equals 1. I was overwhelmed by the feeling I got when I saw the numerous 1s that appeared next to the list of chapters. In some cases there was a 2, but it was likely someone pressing the wrong button. Thank you. The author published a novel with more than 3,000 chapters, with just 1 hit per chapter over a period of 10 years. It was truly a story just for me. I pressed on the recommendation board and immediately started tapping on the keyboard. I am recommending a Honey Jam novel. The author wrote me a free completed novel, so I should give him a recommendation. I clicked on the completed button, and the comments have quite quickly appeared. It looks like a new ante. Search for this person's ID and they recommended the same novel several times. Isn't his recommendation banned? The author shouldn't do this here. It occurred to me that I'd written a recommendation several months ago. In an instant, there was a dozen comments for investigation by spectators. My face flushed with embarrassment. I was sure that the author would read this, so I hurriedly tried to delete the message, but it was already reported that the message couldn't be removed. It was so upsetting to think that the recommendation written with all of my sincerity had turned out like this. They even looked a little bit. Why didn't anyone try reading the interesting novel? I wanted to give a donation to the writer, but I couldn't afford it because I was a salary worker barely able to make a living. Then I received a notification that a message had arrived. TLS123. Thank you. A message flew in out from nowhere. It took me a while to grasp the situation. The author? TLS123. It was the author of Ways of Survival. I was able to complete it to the end thanks to you. I also won the competition. I couldn't believe it. Ways of Survival won a competition? Congratulations! What's the competition? You wouldn't know it because it's an unknown competition. I wondered if he'd lied because he was ashamed, but I wanted it to be true. Perhaps I really didn't know. It might be a big hit on other platforms. I was a little sad, but it was good to have an excellent story spreading. I'd like to send a special gift to you as a thank you. A gift? It's thanks to my dear reader that this story has come into this world. I gave the writer my email address as he'd asked. Oh, right. I got the monetization schedule. Wow, really? When will it start? This masterpiece should have been paid from the beginning. It was a lie. The Ways of Survival was a daily series, so I would have had to spend 3,001 a month. 3,001 was one convenience store lunch for me. The monetization starts tomorrow. Then the epilogue coming tomorrow will be paid? Yeah, I'm afraid you need to pay for it. Of course I have to pay. I'll buy the last one. There was no reply from the author afterwards. I logged out of the site, and then I felt the pessimism sink in later. The author left without a reply after he succeeded. My admiration turned into petty jealousy. What was I so excited for? In any case, it wasn't my novel. Will I give a gift certificate? It would be good if it's for 50,001. At that time, I was thinking naively. I didn't know anything about what would happen to the world the next day. End of prologue. Episode 1. Starting the Paid Service. Part 1. I'm Ch.1. Ch could mean only son or reader. I usually introduce myself to people like this, and then the following misunderstandings would occur. Oh, are you an only child? I am, but that isn't what I mean. Huh? Then? My name is Ch. Kim Ch. Kim Ch, aka Kim, highly respected only son. My father gave me that name to be a strong man by myself. However, thanks to the name that my father gave me, I turned out to just be a normal single and lonely man instead. In short, it was like this. I was Kim Ch, 28 years old, and single. My hobby was reading web novels on the subway. And then I'll go on my smartphone. In a noisy subway, I raised my head reflexively. A pair of curious eyes were staring straight at me. They belonged to an employee from the human resources team, Yu Sung-ah. Hello. Are you going home from work? Yeah. What about Yu Sung-ah's seat? I was lucky. The manager went on a business trip today. Yu Sung-ah sat down as the seat next to me became vacant. A subtle scent came from her shoulders, making me nervous. Do you normally take the subway? Yu Sung-ah made a dark expression. Come to think of it, this was the first time I'd met Yu Sung-ah on the subway train. Starting with personnel manager Kang and to the finance manager Han, there were rumors that Yu Sung-ah had men from the company driving her home every workday. Yet unexpected words came from Yu Sung-ah's mouth. Someone stole my bicycle. Bicycle? You commute my bike? Yeah, I have a lot of overtime these days and seem to be lacking exercise. It's a bit annoying, but it's worth doing. Ah, I see. Yu Sung-ah smiled, and looking closer at her, I could understand the feelings men held towards her. However, it was none of my business. Every person had a genre of life, and Yu Sung-ah was someone who lived a genre different from myself. So after the awkward conversation, we looked at our phones. I opened up the novel app I was reading, before Yu Sung-ah... What was this? Por favor, dinero? Huh? Spanish. I see. What does it mean? Please give me some money, Yu Sung-ah replied proudly. Studying on the subway while going home, she truly had a different genre different to me. However, what was the use of memorizing words? You're working hard. By the way, what is Dakshasi looking at? Yu Sung-ah's gaze was fixed on the LCD screen of my smartphone. Is it a novel? Yeah, well, I'm studying Korean. Wow! I also like novels. I haven't been able to read lately because I don't have the time. It was surprising. Yu Sung-ah liked reading novels? Murakami Haruki, Raymond Carver, Han Kang. Yeah, I thought so. Dakshasi, what writers do you like? You won't even know if I say their names. I've read a lot of novels. Who are the authors? At this time, it was really hard to say that I read web novels as a hobby. I glanced at the title of the novel in the app. The World After the Fall. Author, Sing Shang-shong. I couldn't say that I was reading The World After the Fall by Sing Shang-shong. It's just a fantasy novel. That, well, like The Lord of the Rings. Yu Sung-ah's eyes widen. Aha! The Lord of the Rings! I've seen that movie. Yeah, the movie is good. The silence continued for a moment. Yu Sung-ah was looking at me like she was waiting for me to say something. Our conversation was becoming strained, so I decided to change the topic. It's been a year since I joined the company. This is my last year. Time moves really fast, huh? Yeah. At that time, we both knew nothing, right? That's right. Seems just like yesterday. The contract period's already over. I realized that I'd said something wrong when I saw Yu Sung-ah's expression. I'd forgotten. Yu Sung-ah received credit for a foreign buy last month and was already promoted to a full-time employee. Right. My congratulations are late. I'm sorry. I should have worked harder to study in a foreign language. No, Dakshasi, there's still a performance review, and... I hated to admit it, but the sight of Yu Sung-ah talking was wonderful. It was like the world's spotlight was shining down on only one person. If this world was a novel, the protagonist would be such a person. In fact, it was the inevitable result. I hadn't tried, but Yu Sung-ah had made an effort. I just read novels on the internet, while Yu Sung-ah studied hard. It was natural that Yu Sung-ah would become a full-time employee, and that my contract would be terminated. Dakshasi. Yeah? If you don't mind, would you like to know the app I use? Yu Sung-ah's voice momentarily became distant. It felt like a world was far away. I braced my mind and stared straight ahead. A boy was sitting in the seat opposite me on the train. He was 10 years old or so. The boy held an insect collecting net as he sat next to his mother, laughing happily. Dakshasi? What if I'd had a different life from now? I mean, what if my life genre was different? Kim Dak? If the genre of my life wasn't realism but fantasy, could I be the protagonist? I didn't know. Probably the unknown forever. However, there was one thing I knew. It's okay, Yu Sung-ah-si. Huh? It won't work even if you tell me the app. The genre of my life was obviously realism. Dakja has a solo life. Huh? What? I'm just someone like that. In this genre, I wasn't a protagonist, but a solo person. The life of a solo? Yu Sung-ah had a serious expression on her face. However, I waved my hands to show it was really okay. I didn't know why, but this person was really worried about me. Maybe because she was part of the personnel department. But I was already aware of my performance, though. Dakshasi is really good! Yeah? Well, then I will live an ivory life. Yu Sangha seemed to have decided something as she turned back to studying Spanish. I gazed at her for a while before returning to the novel. Everything had returned to normal, but strangely, scrolling the novel didn't go well. Maybe it was because I realized the weight of reality that I couldn't scroll down. At that time, a notification appeared at the top of my smartphone. You have one new mail. It was from the author of Ways of Survival. I opened the mail. Reader Nim, my novel will become paid from 7 p.m. This will be helpful. Good luck. One attachment. Well, the author said he'd give me a gift, but what was the gift? Like my name, I was also a reader by nature, so I was excited to receive the mail. Yes, it wasn't bad living as a reader. I checked the time. It was 6:55 p.m. I had exactly 5 minutes before the novel became monetized at 7 p.m. Then I opened up my list of preferred novels in my app. And since I was the only reader, I should leave a congratulatory comment and give strength to the author. However, the work does not exist. What? I tried typing ruined several times in the search box, but the result was the same. The bulletin boards for Ways of Survival had disappeared without a trace. It was strange. Had there ever been a case of a novel being deleted without notification when it was going to be monetized? At that moment, the subway lights turned off, and the inside of the train became dark. The subway train shook loudly and let out a metallic sound. It caused Yu Sung-ah to scream and grab my arm, and then I heard the sounds of other people getting stirred up. Yu Sung-ah gripped my arm so tightly that I paid more attention to the pain in my left arm than the sudden stop. It took a dozen seconds for the train to stop fully, and then I heard confused voices coming from everywhere. What? What is this? In the dark, one or two smartphone lights turned on. Yu Sung-ah still held onto my left arm tightly as she asked, "What is going on?" I pretended to be unconcerned. Don't worry, it isn't a big deal." "Is that so?" "Yeah, it's probably a disturbance from someone jumping on the tracks. The engineer will make an announcement." As I finished speaking, I heard the engineer's announcement. "Telling all passengers on the train. Telling all passengers on the train." The loud surroundings became calm. I sighed and opened my mouth. "See, it isn't a big deal. Now an apology will air and the power will come back on. Everyone, run away! Run!" What? There was a beeping sound and the broadcast turned off, and the inside of the train became a mess. Doc, you see? What is this?" A bright light flashed from the front of the subway train. There was a loud drumming sound followed by a pop. Something was heading this way in the darkness. It was just a coincidence that I saw the clock at this moment. 7 p.m. exactly. Tick. It felt like the world was stopping. And then I heard a voice. The free service of Planetary System 8612 has been terminated. The main scenario has started. This was the moment the genre of my life changed.